Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me and this show all over the place at Hawk Blogger, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and such. And it's a Tuesday, which means we get to lick our Seahawks wounds with our good pal, Matt Hasselbeck, a man who knows a thing or two about victories and defeats, and he's going to help us cope a little bit through a tough loss to the Rams. But Matt, first of all, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday?
It was a tough weekend. I'm not gonna lie. All my teams lost. Our Ensworth High School team here lost. I went to see my son play. He plays for UCLA. Went to Ohio State, the number one team in the country. That didn't go. That was non-competitive, is I think the word for that one. Seahawks lost. My cousin, who's at IUP in the Division II kind of playoff hunt, they lost. BC lost a tough one to Georgia Tech. By the time the Seahawks game came along, I was just like, I just know this isn't going to go my way. It was a tough one. So not one of my teams won this weekend. It was a really tough learning lesson that way.
Yeah.
If you want a silver lining, Seahawks might be the team that actually played the best and had the best chance to win. I mean, that was just the best punt I've ever seen in a moment in my life.
Yeah.
And basically, I think won the game for the team because really, not to get into the details too much right now, but like McVay and Stafford did a really foolish, arrogant thing, throwing the ball, giving the Seahawks an opportunity. And it just kind of got bailed out by their incredible punter. And that was just great.
Yeah. We will talk about that. I've got a bunch of questions for you there. I've got to admit something to you, though. So I'm a terrible traveler, as I've started to learn following the Seahawks around, covering them the last couple of years. And once again, got sick on the road, didn't sleep, finally got home and went to take a shower, the post-travel shower where you're like, oh, this is going to feel so good before I go to bed, just going to get all ready. And it's freezing cold. And I go and I find out that I have failed my homeowner's duties, my fatherly husband duties. We got a tankless water heater a few years ago. And somewhere along the way, I was not made aware that you need to have those things serviced. And so at some point during this show, there might be a plumber that shows up, and you
took a lot of L's this weekend as well.
I did. It was like the final L, hopefully the final L. But man, self-inflicted wound. So luckily you cannot smell me through this because I'm shower free. The last 24 hours.
All right. Well, sometimes it's good to it's like a bad breakup. You just eat a pint of ice cream. This is part of the punishment. It's just like we're gonna wallow in our sorrows. I do think there's a lot of lessons to learn in losses, and especially when you get to play a team again. And I think I strongly agree. The first time I heard someone say this, I think was you. This is probably the first of three matchups between these two teams. I mean, it's very likely. And I've been a part of three matchup games with, ironically, the Rams and other teams probably. But it's a real thing, and there's human nature that falls into it. And there's things you can learn from this tape. And I think the Seahawks, in a weird way, will be better served for it. And you, in a similar way, probably will never make this mistake again with the water.
That's the hope. That's hope. Well, the next trip, man, is your way. We're going to be heading to Nashville here. I'm heading out Friday, and we're going to be there.
I wish there was a Friday night football game for you guys to come to. I mean, that would have been epic. Our atmosphere is amazing. We're stunned, but luckily there's a lot to do in Nashville. And, the best thing about that loss, I think, is that the next game is this game. I mean, this is like the perfect get right game for the Seahawks and for Sam Darnold and for everybody. And I think for Seahawks fans, this is I played here for 2 years. And one of the hardest things about being the quarterback for the Titans is it's really, really hard to have a home field advantage because this is where away fans really want to come.
Yeah.
And every single week, it's like, oh, let's do a fun weekend in Nashville. So that's what Seahawks fans are going to get. And this will be 12s all throughout the city, I'm imagining. And hopefully they can just stay hydrated enough to make it to Sunday. I think that'd be one piece of advice. It's a lot of fun.
Well, yes, we have, I think, officially sold out our Saturday night deal. So that's going to be fun. But Saturday during the day, Any recommendations? Like, what would you do with a day in Nashville on
Well, it
Sunday?
depends really what you're into. Like, there's a lot of like different fun, like culture type things here. Like, you could do all kinds of like tastings and restaurants, and like you could get on bikes and you could do like stuff like that. But it is SEC country down here. Kentucky will be in town playing Vanderbilt. It's a really hard ticket to get. And it's a walk. It's really like a walk to where your event is, I think, on Broadway. They actually walked the goalpost from the stadium down into the river last year when they beat Alabama. So it's a long walk, but like it's certainly a walk. If the college students at Vandy can carry the goalpost that far, you
Yes.
burn some calories.
Yes.
And make that walk. But no, there's a lot of like great, I would say like there's a lot of great like boutique shopping type stuff. There's live music everywhere. There's really good food, not healthy. So start your diet now, and then you have your cheat days on the weekend here. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of sports going on, I think, with sports bars and, that kind of stuff downtown.
All right, that all sounds great. All right, we're going to talk about Sam Darnold, and we're going to talk about the game in general. But I want to start by asking you a couple things that happened after the game. First thing, I assume by now you've heard the Ernest Jones post game quote, and I want to get your
both versions.
Yes, I'd like to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, it was strong. I mean, I think if you're Sam Darnold, you're a guy that has, weathered some storms in your career, whether it be like on his first team or like wherever it is, like people throwing stones at you. And you kind of wonder like, oh, is this guy going to lose his confidence? Like, I think early on he might've lost his confidence because he's a young player or he hasn't like signed a big contract or whatever. And now I don't think like he's in danger of like losing his confidence. Now you have a teammate on the other side of the ball come to his like defense like this, or teammates come to his defense and coaches come to his defense. I don't think he's going to lose his confidence. I think it's great. It reminds me of just like the respect that you have for certain teammates. You want to like go out on a limb. You want to take a bullet, metaphorically for your guy. And that's kind of what happens. And you do that because you know what that guy is each and every day. Not what he is on just Sunday. Like, what he is each and every day. And, it's similar to the way that I think you hear guys in Indianapolis talking about Daniel Jones right now. Like, Daniel Jones is an easy punching bag for the national media. Sam Darnold, I think, is an easy punching bag. Like, listen, name a quarterback. They've thrown 4 interceptions in a game. I backed up Brett Favre. I'd see him throw 4 interceptions in the first half often, and then like throw 4 touchdowns in the second half. Like it's just, they had an opportunity to come back and be the hero there with a game-winning field goal. If just like maybe that punt wasn't so amazing, and maybe if like they just did if he threw 3 interceptions instead of 4 interceptions, like that kind of stuff. So I just think it's going to build confidence. I think it's going to bring this team together. There'll be a time when the quarterback has to step up and be a little bit like, if you think after the Tampa game, hey, did you feel like the defense let you down? Like, no, I didn't really think, we got to do our side of the ball. They got to do their side of the ball. Like the next time he gets asked a question like that, maybe he's got a little more Ernest Jones in him. Maybe he's got a little more like, hey, listen, similar to the way Jeff Hafley came to the back of Matt LaFleur this week. Everyone's like, oh, do you feel like the offense is letting you down? Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. And Jeff Hafley, the D coordinator, stepped up and he's like, whoa. Like, I go against these guys every Thursday. Like, it's the hardest thing I do all week. It's harder than my Sundays. Like, just having your teammates back, that's what I think, like, really strong teams do. And, when things get hard, do you pull apart or you pull together? That was an instance there where brutal loss and the locker room's pulling together.
So there's another quote, and this did not come from the Seahawks. This came from Puka Nacua. I don't know if you've heard this one, but he was talking about a conversation he had with Devontae Adams leading up to the game, and he said, Tay, as in Devontae, as long as we do our stuff on our side of the ball, they'll be seeing ghosts out there on Sunday. Now, we all know what he's talking about. What do you think about that kind of trolling after the game that they just played? And what good does that do? Like, what do you think about that?
It's a rivalry talk. And I would just say, like, I doubt Puka came up with it on his own. Like, you probably heard it. A lot of times when guys say something at the podium or in a locker room, they're really just regurgitating like the message of the week in the team meeting room, and you just kind of mean it. Like, you don't mean it personal. You just mean it kind of like, hey, listen up. We're going to get after him. We're going to rush with 4. They're going to have to keep 7 and 8 guys into block. And then there's going to be so many defenders out there covering their 2 guys or 3 guys out on routes. He's going to be seeing ghosts out there. It's like that, But no, after a win, it's a little subtle jab. There's a lot of in rivalry games. It's like these little subtle, I'm going to push your button. I'm going to get under your skin and, create a little seed of doubt. And, I think knowing that when you play them again, there's some stuff into that. That's a little bit of gloating. I think it's pretty normal, though. As long as you're not spitting at somebody, I think I'm really good with it.
Yeah, I don't know why that's become a thing this year.
It's so stupid. The trash talk is so real. It's so real. It's almost creative. Now, the NFL is really it's their number one thing. It's their number one point of emphasis is sportsmanship. And what they really don't want is they really don't want fights. And the spitting leads to fights, but they really don't want the fights. They think it's a bad look for the game. It's not what they want. The trickle down of college and then youth sports, parents, that's their number one thing they don't want. And so I think the people who make those rules, I agree with them, but I think they'd be shocked to hear what's actually said between, it's like a pickup basketball game. You say the most hurtful thing about your mom and, all this stuff. It's all right. It's just, it is a little bit a part of the game, but there's a line you can cross. And I think that's what I would have a problem with. The trash talking, it's almost fun. It's almost just engaging.
So we got to talk about the quarterback. We need a little quarterback to quarterback, not me, but quarterback to quarterback. If you were in the room with Sam Darnold after that game, I want to go through some of the specific situations and what you thought he was seeing and all that stuff. But what's your message to him? What would you say to him, behind closed doors?
It's complicated because each interception is different. They're a little bit like a snowflake, but there are some commonalities in them. Sometimes they get you. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's pass pro. Sometimes the receiver leaves you hanging. Sometimes the receiver leaves you hanging, but you should have known better. It's KYP. Know your personnel. Is this a rookie or is this a Hall of Famer? Do I trust you to cross the safety's face or do I not? It's not easy. His job's not easy either, some of that kind of stuff. But I also think there's just some of the best analogies with interceptions that I've heard. It wasn't even the coach necessarily talking to me. And I've thrown my fair share I've never thrown 5 interceptions in a game. I've thrown 4 many times. And I think that's pretty common. Usually you balance it out with some really good plays. And I thought Sam had about 15, 16 really, I would say good plays. We just needed one more or one more negative play. And I think that's a little bit the message. Hey, if you had one more great play or one less critical error, we win. And it's way easier to just have one less critical error than it is to have one more great play. So could you do that? And I think when you sit there and you're yeah, man, I could have had one less critical error. That's very doable, and so I think that that's the starting point. The starting point isn't the world isn't falling, the sky isn't falling, the world isn't crashing down on you. We're going to be okay. But there's a lot to correct in this game, defensively, especially everybody. But if just you have one less critical error, we win the game. That's all we got to do. And it almost feels like a manageable task. Okay, all right, now let's turn the tape on and let's go through the plays. And then by the end of it, you're sitting there and you're hey, I could have had 3 or 4 less critical errors, and I could have had maybe 4 more great plays. We're good. It almost instills some confidence in you. And so I think that's the message to him. I think there's also another message to the team, to the play caller. It's hey, when a guy is struggling, let's help him. Let's just take the opportunity for failure out of his hands. We're in these 3rd and 3 situations. And I think we had an interception on 3rd and 3 where he sped up. And then we had another one that was, I think, ruled an incompletion, but very easily could have been a fumble. And to me, fumbles are worse than interceptions. That's a topic for another day. But take it out of his hands. It's 3rd and 3. We're running the ball fine in those situations versus dime defense and passing kind of situations when we're unknown. We're good. And help him get back on track. Give us some layups. But ultimately, I thought the real issue with his interceptions was that pass protection wasn't good enough. We got 8 guys in pass protection or 7 guys in pass protection. They're rushing 4. He's getting drilled as he throws the ball. They got extra. I said it, I think, last week. The best thing you can do is get a pass rush with 4 and force them to keep more than 6 guys in protection. Good luck. Good luck. That's bad ball. So pass pro needs to get cleaned up. And if that gets cleaned up, he gets cleaned up. And then one other thing about Sam, sorry, I'm talking so long on this.
No, this is great.
If you look at all of his interceptions, I think I'm right about this. There might be one exception to this. His very next opportunity to throw a pass, he's great. Completion. Now, I also would say good job by Clint Kubiak. I think on a couple of them, they were like the naked bootleg version, which as a quarterback are really nice. You just turn your brain off, pure progression, outside the pocket, change the launch point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the sprinkler. And those are kind of nice, get you back on track. And they're not necessarily like short throws. They're like, first down throws on first down. So like that to me is like, here's a guy that's not seeing ghosts. He's not shook. He's not like confident, shaking, not a young guy. That's one of the reasons I think it's great that they got Sam Darnold. He's weathered these storms. He's got thick skin. He's been through the fight, been through the fire. He's got scar tissue. We're good. And that showed up to me. So I don't think he's going to like lose his confidence about this. Again, I think we were just maybe 10, 15 yards short and an amazing punt short of winning the game, 2-point game. Like we're in it. So there's some good stuff to learn from it. I think there's some encouragement, but the Rams were the more physical team, and that is really why they lost, I think.
I think that's all well said. And I think the 3rd and 3 stuff, both of the final interception and the almost fumble that you're referring to were both on 3rd and 3s. And I remember at the time thinking like, why won't this Seahawks team run on 3rd and 3 is not a have to pass it down. And the Seahawks were running the ball relatively well. So I think that's a great call out.
Can I just say, it's not so much that like, it's not so much just the run. It's how much they were struggling with the pass.
Right.
And they're all the line stunts like that. I don't know. That's the whole, it helps your line out. It calms them down when they can't just like tee off. And that's what they were doing. They were just teeing off on the pass pro.
Well, and similarly to that, you talk about bootlegs, all of the interceptions, as far as I remember, all came in the pocket. It was not a changing of the launch point. It was not getting him out. I don't know if Sam's had a turnover this year when he's on a bootleg style play. Like it feels like those kind of plays in general, the reads seem a little bit more clear. And if it's not there, the decision to throw it away seems a little bit more clear as well.
Well, yeah, and you're outside the pocket. To me, those are a little bit of a change up just to keep him honest for everything else. But what Sam is so good at, like ridiculously good, is doing the bootleg to the right and the left. Most quarterback coaches don't even like mess with it. They're like, we're not gonna. It's too hard. I've been burned in my past. He's really great at that. And again, like that doesn't mean he's not an amazing pocket passer. He's been a great pocket passer. But when you're sped up with your feet, it's a bad feeling. You saw Jared Goff the other night in the nationally televised game against Philly. Goff's a good quarterback in a great offense, but like he was sped up. And when he was sped up, he just, he wasn't Superman. He was Clark Kent. And that's the problem.
So there's this kind of narrative out there about, Sam Darnold just turns the ball over and this was just more of the same. And I when I look at these situations or these specific turnovers, especially the first 3, they don't seem like throwing it off someone's helmet that deflects into, like, it seems like a different situation. I'd be curious your thoughts, but the first 3, like I, as a, like an observer, I was like, I don't understand what he saw because it didn't even look like his receiver had an opportunity to be open. So like the decision itself seemed really questionable. I don't remember as many situations like that so far this year.
Yeah. So if I'm remembering the interceptions, and you can help me, we can do it. But early in the game, kind of backed up, check with me situation, 2 tight ends, 12 personnel, tight ends off the ball. And we're either going to run or we're going to do not a run,
It's a 1st and 10.
1st and 10. So they go play action. In a lot of teams, what they do, and these guys know it because they know this system, is one guy's running a deep post and one guy's running like a deep in or deep curl. The safety to Sam Darnold's right, he sees that it's play action, and he's just like, when you have that read, it's a 1-2 read or a 2-1 read. Like it's a right to left 1-2 or left to right 1-2. And I guess you could like accidentally decide like, well, whoever he looks at first, that's one, and I'm going there. And that's what the backside safety, I think it was Kinchin's, like that's what he did. And it's a little bit, it's a kind of a schemed up, like, hey, we got you. Like you played check with me, but I got, like we got you. Like my backside safety's turning this one. You're not throwing a deep post number 2. You're throwing a deep post number 1. So basically, I think it's like a little bit of a scheme. Like you kind of got us. You tip your cap to him a little bit. Like that one, that backside safety should never come over there, but they rolled the dice. Okay, so that was the first one. The second one, I feel like he was like falling away. Can you remind me about what the
first one? He was falling away as well. The second one was the first play of the third quarter. Their first possession of the third quarter, and this is the stunt where the guy came free up over the right guard, and he just tossed it to the right boundary.
Yeah, so like that's a great example. I think that one is, so first of all, that first play that we're talking about, it's an 8-man protection and they're rushing 4. Okay. And so like that also feeds into it. Like you kept 8 people in there to like, at least at the start, I'm responsible for protection and then I'm out, and they're only rushing 4. This next play that you're talking about, we're full sliding the line to the left, and someone from the left comes and drills him in the sternum as he's getting ready to throw the ball. He's sped up on that one. Again, that's not great. We're turning our shoulders as an offensive line. Like it's one of those ones where in theory we have better protection because we have more people allocated to protection, but you actually just made it worse. So that one was not great. I wish I had him in front of me. I could really give you like a detail where I'm like, oh, fix this and we're good.
I would love to be able to put the film in for you, but the NFL would copyright strike the video, and that would be.
I'm gonna just see if I can do this.
Take your time.
You keep talking.
I will say so. I mean, part of what jumps out to me, the third one, by the way, was on a 1st and 20. This was after, unfortunately, a holding penalty moved them back, and they were on their own 27. And this is one that he tried to fit into Elijah Arroyo over the middle. And that also, I mean, I think part of the thing for me, Matt, is.
Okay, so can I go back? I'm wrong.
Yes,
the
please,
second one.
go.
The second one is the 3rd and 9 where they squat on them. Okay. And so there's something that some people do. I think this is reckless. They'll say, hey, just sit at the sticks. They'll tell the defenders, sit at the sticks. They'll say that. You better not sit at the sticks on this team. They've proven they'll go by you at the sticks. So this one here, he's trying to throw it to JSN, and this dude squats on JSN. I've seen JSN run this route a bunch, and so is he. I've also seen JSN run this little like subtle spray release out and up in this exact kind of situation right here. And he blows by, and I don't know. I think Shaheed is the inside guy, and he blows right by the safety too. Now I know the ball's getting thrown. This is this is an example. The next time we play the Rams, we're going to get in this exact same formation on this exact same guy. We're going to spray release. We're going to out and up this thing for a touchdown. Like just book it, okay? And we should. And the Rams should be ready for it. They can't squat on this the way that they did. And now the Seahawks. Let's try not to get into 3rd and 9. That would be the next one. All right, sorry. So you're on the first.
Yeah, but even there, it's interesting to me that that's where you go, as opposed to sometimes you got to take a sack. You can't just put the ball into harm's way. You can't just throw it up in that situation. Like, do you think the decision by Sam there is justified?
So Sam has to trust his feet on this, okay? And he's got to miss outside. He misses inside, which is like you can never do that, okay? But if you watch his drop, as he like on this play, if you go back and watch it, I'm watching it, so I'm kind of cheating here. Okay, he has this little hesitation instead of like 1, 2, 3 balls out, like a pitcher off a mound. He has this little hesitation because he sees the guy squatting, but he's also got a guy right on a stunt that should get picked up, just getting ready to drill him in the chest. This is like an us or nobody. You got to sail this thing and let us punt. Like yes, that you got to let us punt. But even if he had done it right, I think this DB, Durant, is just like squatting on it so big time. So I think there's a lot of blame to go around here. The offensive line, I think, takes a lot of blame. The most blame comes to the quarterback because you got to sail this thing. I also think that the Rams can't get away with this, and we got to make them pay. Like if they're going to squat like this, I would have liked to have seen them come back to that shot play that I'm talking about in this game, but maybe the situation didn't come up. So that's.
So then we go to the third interception. This is a
royal.
Yeah, over the middle. The fourth interception is pretty obvious, like pressure he's trying to create. At that point, he's just trying to shot put the ball. Like that was just a bad thing all around. But the third one, I'm curious your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, this is a little bit of KYP, a little bit like also like it's too high. So you're wanting that tight end to be a bender, and you want him to clear his linebacker and then bend in there. But the linebacker, you want to look at the hips, the depth, and the width of the linebacker. And this linebacker gets so much depth, and it's a similar like a little bit of a two hitch thing. Just move on. Just that would be I think that's what he's telling himself. Like, is that tight end being told by his tight end coach, you have to 100% of the time cross the face of the safety? Like, yeah, he's being told that, but that's not a great decision. That ball should come down to Barner. That ball on the left, it should come down to the running back. That ball's got to go somewhere else. There's a great little in understanding too the situation. Like we're just down by 2 here. It's 1st and 20. The goal of 1st and 20 is just like get us something. If you can get us half of it back, like great. That's ill-advised. So I would say so far on these 3 interceptions as I go back, like, yeah, the quarterback can learn from all 3 of them and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So
and then on the last one,
on the last one, because might as well.
Sometimes it's therapeutic to just let these things go. You go through your progression. Again, this is us, keeping 7 guys in protection, and then they're only rushing 4. So like the math isn't great there, and we don't protect it. And so like there's actually a guy open. I think Shaheed's open in the middle eventually, but you're holding on to the ball, and then you got a guy in your face, and it's just so you get to your check down really quick, and it's just you're off schedule, and it's really bad. You got to like confirm what you see. And sometimes you press when it's like the game's late and you feel like, oh, it's 2 scores and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's hard. Like when you're in a quarterback room after a game, you watch the interceptions. It's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's painful. It's like a root canal. You're just like, but there is something great if like every single position group looks in the mirror and say, what could we do differently on this play? Collectively, we kind of inch towards the details and the discipline of making sure it doesn't happen again.
Now, Matt, we obviously Sam Darnold's got a reputation coming in as a guy that turns the ball over, as a guy that struggles, and
I think a national reputation.
But
like I don't think that's how his teammates see him. I don't think that's how his coaches see him.
Yeah, agreed.
And the Vikings certainly don't see him that way. He's the answer to all their problems right now.
Well, yeah. We'll see them in a few weeks. But, last year it was, okay, you're holding on to the ball too long, 9 sacks, you got to get rid of it. Like I went back, I watched every one of those, and a lot of those were either protection breakdowns or play call challenges or things along those lines. And so now he makes a change, and all of a sudden he's getting rid of the ball much faster, like a half a second faster. He's been sacked less than any quarterback in football this year, but now he seems so reticent to get sacked that he's kind of forcing some throws, and judgment in general, like that finding that fine line between like, one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm droning on here, but I looked at all the pressures from this game against the Rams. There were a number of big plays that Sam actually made against pressure that if he hadn't made, the Seahawks wouldn't have been that close in the game. So he has this ability to create and be a playmaker, but he's also making some decisions that are putting the ball in harm's way. Like it seems like a very challenging balance to strike. How do you?
Yeah. So like, I was part of a conversation once with Andrew Luck when he was like all-world quarterback, but yet turning the ball over a little bit. And you don't want to play scared like you're like a teenage driver in driver's ed for the first time. Like don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over. I think what the analogy that was used, back with Andrew Luck, and I think it was such a great analogy. Our quarterback coach had brought an admiral in from the Navy, actually, to talk about how they train fighter pilots. And like, yes, you're the superstar Top Gun, pilot. You're the man. But like that aircraft doesn't belong to you. You don't get to just be reckless with it. You're our franchise quarterback. You're making all this money, but you don't get to like be reckless with the ball. The ball doesn't really belong to you. So how do we cut it loose and play confident and fly that jet like Maverick and Top Gun, and yet be, careful and safe with the ball? And I think what it is partially, you don't get to just like hit eject whenever you want with the ball. You don't get to just wing it over here, see what happens. So part of it, what it is like whatever you do, you trust your training, and then you cut it loose and you play aggressively. And if you feel great about a throw, make the throw. Like if you feel like, hey, it's time to bolt and we got to bolt, then bolt. But when you play like this indecision game, like, he's not there. Oh, someone's going, here, just you take it. Like that's where we get into trouble. And if you do look at an interception reel, I don't care who the quarterback is, or if you watch, like one of my favorite things to do is watch the interception reel of the entire league for that week and say, okay, what are some common denominators here? And some common denominators are, man, it's third down. I want a first down so bad. I'm not willing to let our punter punt. Other common denominators are, I was kind of indecisive. I was kind of like, are you going to bend and curl here? He's like, maybe it's not a grenade. We're not playing bocce ball. Like you're a sniper, like your precision on this throw and conviction. And that's how a fighter pilot fights or flies. That's how a fighter pilot flies. That's how a quarterback has to be with the football. And, I think it's more like that instead of don't turn the ball over. Pete Carroll came in 2010 and his whole message to me was like, don't turn the ball over, don't turn. And like, I turned the ball over more than I ever had in my life. And like the analogy for me there is like playing in a golf scramble and everyone's like, oh, just don't leave your putt short. Like a lot of people just leave their putt short. Like that's not the way to play. That's not the way to fly. That's not the way to play quarterback. I don't think. You got to cut it loose. So, but in a weird way, you're actually safer. It's like the person who's a little bit more of an aggressive New York City cab driver, probably safer than the 16-and-a-half-year-old driving 10-2, like afraid to, I don't know. So whatever. So like, I just think there's some of that. So like if I'm coaching Sam, and I'm sure he knows this, like you got to just stay you, but lose the indecision and let our punter punt sometimes. Like all good. Like we have a great defense. Let our punter punt. We'll get it back again. And these are the lessons you learn by making the mistakes. And I think all quarterbacks would tell you they learn more from the mistakes than they do from the touchdowns. And this game will be that, and there'll be an opportunity to redeem it.
Matt, kept you a little bit past time. Do you have time for one more question?
Sure. It's my fault. I get animated.
No, this is great. This is great. I always want to be respectful of your time. So, I guess it's kind of two questions in one. I'll cheat there. So Clint Kubiak, you kind of talked about some of the play caller stuff. I'm curious what your assessment of his game was against Chris Shula's defense. And then when you kind of step back and look at the whole Rams versus Seahawks and like what the Seahawks defense did to the Rams offense, I'm kind of curious where you're left thinking about these two teams.
So there's a lot here. So number one, if you took away the score, like the Seahawks kind of dominated the game. Like Devontae Adams had one catch, and it was like a perfect defensive call. It was like, okay, the corner, you got the fade, and then I'm blanking on the name, number 7.
Uchenna Nwosu.
Yeah, Nwosu. And he's right there for the slant. It's like the perfect defensive call. Just the details of how they did it didn't work out. It was a perfect defensive call. You take that away, and I think that was a fourth down. If it wasn't a fourth down, maybe they ran on a fourth down. But like they had a really good game. So like there's a lot to be encouraged by this. Now, if you look at offensively and Clint Kubiak, I think Clint Kubiak's been awesome all year, with the exception of probably the San Fran game when he knew that they knew what our playbook is and all that. And then a little bit, maybe just a little bit, this is maybe unfair, but like the same thing. The Rams are running the same playbook. Like this is like, oh, that we know that and so like as even as a play caller, you kind of develop, a history and an identity of who you're going to be, no matter who the opponent is. no matter if it is Kyle Shanahan helping the defense or Sean McVay helping the defense or, whatever. And you get to know your guys as well. So I think Clint Kubiak's been great. I think he's been awesome, but I do think it is going to be really fun to see what he comes up with the second time around on these opponents. Because second time around play calling, it's kind of fun. It's like trying to putt a second time. It's like, oh yeah, feels so much better about this one because you do have something to go off of. And who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe there's a third time for this game, and that would be even more incredible.
Well, I got to show you this. This from our good friend Dave Bowling, who says, man, I miss interviewing that guy. Referring to you, the best ever. So glad you've got him on. So
Big Dave, let's go. What's up,
Big Dave? Big Dave. All right, Matt, thank you very much. Maybe we'll cross paths in Nashville. If not.
Yeah, listen, I actually just randomly, I've got family in town right now, our friends in town right now, and we randomly were driving down Broadway after dinner last night. And then we were going to go hit Brooklyn Bowl, which is like a really fun bowling bar place where Tight End U was this year near Germantown, where Taylor Swift did an impromptu concert with other impromptu concerts that night. Luke Combs, it was crazy. It was like fun. So I'm just driving by, but like, it's just, it's like where Starbucks is. It's like, it's not, nothing's fancy about the area. And we drove by DraftKings. I'd never seen it. It's like right there. It's a great location for your thing. So I would love to stop by. I don't know. It's on during the UCLA game, I think. What time's your party? What time's your thing?
8 o'clock, 8 p.m.
Yeah. So we'll see what the score is. Game probably be over by that time. I think it's actually UW versus UCLA. It's been a tough year for UCLA. So we'll see, but a tough year. So so maybe UW will be up by a lot by then and be able to come by.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you as always. Matt Hasselbeck, Seahawks legend, Ring of Honor member, and top 50 player in Seahawks history. Thanks for coming by.
All right. See you, Brian.
All right. That is Matt Hasselbeck. Great stuff as always. And what a treasure to be able to hear from Matt about that game and get a quarterback's perspective on those plays and have, I think, points of view that are not what I would have had, not what I think a lot of people would have assumed. And I think that's pretty cool. Like the fact that he put a lot of it on protection, I understand where he's getting at. And the fact that the Seahawks had that many guys in for protection and still were giving up pressure, I think certainly deserves more attention than it got. I talked to you all in the morning after show yesterday about when I went back and watched the 13 pressures on all 22 on the flight home yesterday. Gray Zabel did not have a great day. Like, it was not a great, he was having trouble in pass pro. Anthony Bradford it looks like he critically missed the twist. Now, it's also possible Zach Charbonnet on that play, he was kind of kept in and was starting to leak to the right, but he never actually leaked out to be an outlet. And so I'm not sure if his job was to be inside on a stunt pickup. I don't know. But in any event, they didn't pick it up. And all that aside, I mean, my initial review of all those plays from Sam was like, dude, you can't make that throw. You just can't. And Matt was clear that that's the case as well, but he also was like, man, protection was not what it needs to be. And I loved the point about the 3rd and 3 play calls. Two of those turnovers came on 3rd and 3 pass plays. I'm going to pull this up right now because I'm curious about it. How have the Seahawks done when they've run the ball on 3rd and 3 this year? And how often have they run the ball on 3rd and 3 this year? This is a team that's predicated on being a physical running team. 3rd and 3 is not a must pass situation. And it's kind of an identity kind of moment. And also with you having a AJ Barner tush push opportunity, it's also, you could get 2 yards on 3rd and 3 and potentially put yourself in a situation where you could get the first down on 4th down. So I'm going to pull this up. We'll see what the Seahawks have done so far this year on 3rd and 3 specifically, no shorter or longer. Seahawks have had 10 such situations this year. They've passed 6 of the times. And their conversion rate on 3rd and 3 is 50%, which is not good. It's lower half of the league. To give you an idea, the Falcons are number 1. They're 71%. The Saints are number 2 at 70%. So there's some teams up, converting 70% of those. But if you narrow it down to just the running plays, on 3rd and 3, let's see how the Seahawks did there. So we're going to narrow it down just to runs, and here is what we get on those 3 runs for the Seahawks. It's interesting. Seahawks have run 3 times on 3rd and 3. Every single time they have converted it to a first down, including one against the Rams. They had a 3rd and 3 with 10:33 to go in the 3rd quarter on the Rams 22-yard line, and Ken Walker ran for 7 yards. But yeah, I'm looking at, so one against Washington, one against the Rams, and one against the Texans. Now, it is fair to say that one of the 3rd and 3 conversions came on a negative 1-yard run by Zach Charbonnet on what was kind of the final play against the Texans, where there was the unnecessary roughness that gave them a first down. So they got a first down, but they didn't really get a first down. So let's call it 2 out of 3. Still, that's a pretty good indication that should be something they think about. I think that's one number that I'm going to take with me this week. The other is what I'd said yesterday. The Seahawks Mike McDonald's never lost a game in Seattle when his team has not turned the ball over, but it's only happened like 5 times. And figuring out how to minimize those, I feel like that's a huge part of kind of the growing process for this team the rest of the season. So we've got a bunch of super chats. We'll get to those in a second. Good chance that if you haven't already, head on over to simplyseattle.com. Use code HawkBlogger15. It gets you 15% off the best Seattle sports gear you're going to find. And you can get Josh Naylor stuff, who just signed his deal with the Mariners yesterday, which is awesome. He's going to be around. You can get Seahawks stuff, whatever you like. HawkBlogger15 will get you that deal. And then also, I think a lot of people have been taking advantage of this, but a great deal from SeatGeek is still out there. So take a look at this. Hey, folks, there's never been a better time to go watch the Seahawks play, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. The NFL is in full swing, the NHL is back, and so is the NBA. One of the reasons I love SeatGeek is they've got your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red, not as good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And it's not just about sports. Go see Rush, the Foo Fighters, Doechii, whoever you love. And of course, I've got a code for you guys. You can use code HawkBlogger10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code HawkBlogger10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Great deal from SeatGeek. Thanks. So good stuff from SeatGeek. You can use code HawkBlogger10 with SeatGeek to get that off. I certainly used it and have benefited. I saw other people have used it as well. So it's still out there. Take advantage while you can. And then head over to Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app if you haven't already. Great place to get all your fantasy football, which Mike McDonald, I love the fact that Mike McDonald is just infuriating all fantasy football guys out there by saying Ken Walker has earned more reps. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, a fantasy football, some people have just traded Ken Walker or just inherited Ken Walker at a time where he may start putting up some bigger numbers. We will see. You can find it all on the Sleeper app, plus NBA, anything you like there. And for a limited time, you can get $20 without making a deposit. And if you use promo code Hawks, you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right. So, one more thing. One more thing. I'll just shout it out and then we'll get back to Seahawks stuff. But there's a really cool opportunity if you want it. Link is in the description of the video. An awesome gift. I think it's an awesome gift idea for anybody this holiday season is a Patreon subscription to our community. You can pick how many months it's a subscription for. You can do it for a year. You can do it for the rest of the season. You know, it can be as little as like $5 to $15 for a few months, or you could do a full year and really treat somebody. It's still not a huge expense. And they get to join like the friendliest, best community, I think, out there of Seahawks fans. So I think it's unique. It's easy. It's quick. You don't have to do any shopping. You just click the link, pick the length of the subscription, and Bob's your uncle. You got a nice, easy gift for a Seahawks fan out there. And also you get to support the show. So all good stuff. So bring more good people into our community. Easy thing to do. All right, so let's get to some of these super chats. And then I've got some things to talk about from Mike McDonald yesterday. We've got this from OEL, who says, Brian, not sure if you saw Mike Dugar's tweet, but he says that Darnold seemed to be fixated on not taking sacks at the expense of making good throws. I didn't see Mike's tweet. I don't think I need to see it to have come to that conclusion. I think a lot of us have come to that conclusion, and that's no shade against Mike. Mike does great work, and he had actually a really good clip of AJ Barner blocking Jared Verse a one-on-one on one play. That was pretty cool to see. But that's what I was talking about with Matt. You know, how do you balance that and be a guy that was once told, get rid of the football, you're taking too many sacks, and is now being told, take a sack. You know, that's a lot to kind of balance in a game where things are going very, very quickly. You're talking about 2.6 seconds. 2.6 seconds to snap the football, read the defense, make these decisions. And sometimes these pressures are coming in under 2.5 seconds. I think the second interception, the one to start the third quarter, was a situation like that. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Now it's his job. It's what he's paid a lot of money to do. But yeah, he's got to get this straight in his head, and hopefully it won't be about take a sack. I don't think that's the case. But if he can increase in his mind how the priority is to not turn the ball over versus make a play or avoid a sack, that's the ratio that seems a little bit off. And if you can just prioritize the football a little bit more, that might mean that he decides, all right, I'm not sure enough that this ball is going to go where I need it to. I'm just going to eat it. And like, I think it's more about valuing the football and a little bit less. And I'll say this, I think a lot of Seahawks fans are saying this right now, but if Sam starts taking 3 or 4 sacks in a game and turnovers go down, I think you're going to start hearing a lot of Seahawks fans say he's taking too many sacks, just get rid of the football. So just know that like, it's kind of a no-win in that situation. To Matt's point, the protection was not good. Maybe Sam Darnold gets sacked 4 times in this game. Maybe they win. In another situation, maybe Sam Darnold gets sacked 4 to 6 times in this game because he's so cautious about avoiding a turnover, and he doesn't make a couple of the plays that made this game close. I'm going to keep pointing these things out because it's so easy for us on the sidelines to just say, take a sack. I don't think it's that simple. I know it's not that simple. All right, we've got a new member, Selfish Mangoes. Selfish Mangoes. I love a good mango. So welcome to the community. Great to have you. And we got Corey Coleman here. I think Sam and Clint need to work on running back checkdowns more. Get K9 in more isolated on linebackers and give Sam a relief option. Thanks for all you do, Brian. Well, Corey, thanks, man. I appreciate the super chat. And Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to play the sound from Mike McDonald about Ken Walker here in a minute. And that's, I think, one of the big takeaways from yesterday. But agreed. Trapcat 88. Rams game felt like our first real loss. 49ers game was a bad misplace with Abe. Bucks game was 50-50. We had a chance to drive down at the end, but a helmet changed it all. But this one felt like real struggle. I get what you're saying. I would say that, I mean, they're all losses. They're all losses. I think in some ways this Rams game is similar to the Bucks game. It's just a different side of the football that was the problem. In that Bucks game, it was the defense that could not get off the field, could not stop them. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of reasons why that, Nehemiah Pritchett came in that game. There's some bad decisions by Ty Okada, I felt like, and Kobe Bryant in that game. The defense gave up 38 points. Like, that's honestly as egregious as 4 turnovers in a game. This game, the offense couldn't convert in the red zone and turn the ball over 4 times. And honestly, like, you're a good enough team that you still almost win both of those games and arguably should have won both of those games. But that's not the way to play. And you've seen what the Seahawks can look like when they clean up their play. They're wiping the floor with the Commanders. They're wiping the floor with the Cardinals. So yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I think they're all losses technically, but I also understand where you're coming from. Jacoby says, I heard Mike's presser before the Rams game, and he was praising Coach Thorpe. Mike gave some good insight on how he affects the players. Anything you see on the media side about Nico Thorpe as a coach? Well, Nico's just an energy guy. I mean, I'm not saying that's all he is, but he is a high energy player, coach who had been kind of the guy that helped the players, worked. I can't remember what his title was last year, but he's often like working with the players off the field. And I actually wrote about this. You can go back, if you don't believe me, go back to my end of season article on hawkblogger.com last year when I talked about EQ. In fact, maybe I'll just read it. I think I can find it real quick. So, well, we'll see. Okay, yes, I did find it. All right. The title of the article is My Anti-McDonald Sentiment Misses the Mark. And in a section around EQ, I talked about him needing to work on this a little bit and just getting EQ is like emotional quotient. Like, how good are you at relating to people and connecting with people? And what I wrote here is he'd be wise to spend some of that anxious energy this offseason chasing edges for ways to create more fun for his players that may be uncomfortable or different for him. Not everyone's inspired by military visits or talks. This was never a strength of mine as a leader, meaning me. So I found people in my organization who would take this on. Leslie Frazier is a great collaborator on the coaching side, but it might be a guy more like Nico Thorpe who could infuse some more fun. I think that turned out to be pretty accurate and prescient in terms of what Mike did spend time on this offseason. And I think it's great that he did. Let me bring up here. I want to bring up the press conference because there was some stuff in that press conference that were pretty important to hear. If you didn't hear anything about Gray Zabel, which I don't know where you'd be if you haven't heard Gray Zabel news at this point, but I'll play for you what Mike said because, man, it feels like the Seahawks dodged a bullet on that one. Let me pull this up for you guys and play this for you on Gray.
Yeah, so really fortunate. There's I guess we avoided a significant injury, which is really positive. I'd say The words I heard were day to day. So, you know how that goes. It could be day to day. It could be a week. It could be more than that. So, but nothing significant, which is a huge positive.
I mean, I gotta say, I was I was texting with some buddies. I don't know if I've ever been happier after a crushing 4 interception loss to a division rival than I was yesterday getting that news. It looked so bad about Gray Zabel, and to get that, for that to be what comes out of it, this is huge. I think that's a season-changing potential news for this team, and even if Gray Zabel needs to take this week off, if they want to be cautious and play Christian Haynes, it's a good week to do it. And let's maybe see if Christian Haynes, like in some world, Christian Haynes playing a game and playing really well might give you a chance to say, well, maybe Anthony Bradford does have some competition at right guard, and maybe it does, when Gray Zabel's back in the lineup, give you an opportunity to improve that position as well. So I wouldn't hate Christian Haynes getting some snaps this week. I have to say, my confidence level in that is not great, because I've seen Christian Haynes get a lot of opportunities and not take advantage of them to this point in his career. But what would a full game look like against the Titans and Jeffrey Simmons? Not our Jeff Simmons, but the Titans' Jeff Simmons. It's a tough interior of that. The Titans defense is not a joke, the way that the overall team has been this year. But that was one thing that stood out for me. And then there's a few more. I'm not going to play all of them, but I want to get to where is the Ken Walker stuff? Oh, here we go. So I think this is the Ken Walker.
I think Ken's showing the ability. He's showing that he's earning more opportunities to get the ball, and all three of our backs are doing a great job. And I think he really felt Ken yesterday, and just even in the pass game too, like on checkdowns and finding him, late in the play, just shows you that he's such an explosive player with the ball in his hands, and he knows, there's things that he needs to clean up in his game too, and he's done a great job in practice doing that, and we'll continue to do that. But I think Ken's showing that he deserves some more opportunities.
I think that's pretty big news. It was not a news I expected to hear yesterday. You'll recall potentially a few weeks ago, I think this was maybe 3 weeks ago, I asked Mike McDonald and Clint Kubiak in the same week. I was like, hey, every single metric you look at, points per drive, yards per play, yards per drive, everything is better for you when Ken Walker's on the field. Is he earning more opportunities? Back then, Mike McDonald was a little bit more even-handed about that. And then Clint Kubiak was saying at that point, yes, I do think he's earning some more opportunities. I don't know that we've seen a huge change there. We've seen a little bit more Ken Walker, but not as much. And now you get this, not quite unprompted from Mike McDonald, but he could have just said, I think Ken Walker's playing well and we're really happy with our backs. For him to say that the way he said it indicates there might be a more tectonic shift going on there, that maybe Ken Walker gets 65% of the snaps. Maybe he gets back-to-back series. Basically, they've been alternating series still. Ken Walker's out snapping the other guys for the most part, but it's a little bit wild to me that he's not getting more opportunities in the game. And I think that all the fantasy football people are pulling their hair out. I think Seahawks fans have been pulling their hair out a little bit. I will just say, part of why I think he has not been on the field, I think the two primary reasons he has not got the bulk of the snaps, maybe three. I'll give you three, I think, solid reasons. One is they want people to practice and be on the practice field to be able to then get the reps. And if people are, in training camp, Ken Walker missed a ton of training camp with a foot issue, and Zach Charbonnet missed no time. And I think they felt it would be antithetical to their principles to then play Ken Walker more than the guy that was actually putting in the practice reps. So that's just how you run your team. And I understand that. And I think now Ken Walker's been available all year. And so I think it sounds like he's been practicing all year, and that's no longer a question. The other is just health and durability. And Ken Walker has not always been available for the full season. And they have a lot of good running backs. And so this is a way to just lighten the load. And Mike Macdonald also talked about how just running one back is never the right way in his mind. It's not a wise thing to do in the NFL. And so we'll see, I think that's a factor. And then the third is pass protection. I think Ken Walker has struggled in blitz pickup over the years. Zach Charbonnet is a much better pass protector. So is George Halani. And so I think that limits some of the times that they felt comfortable having Ken out there. But you heard Mike Macdonald say, like, his ability to be an outlet for Sam Darnold's a big deal. And it was in this game. It was a huge deal in this game. Ken Walker made some huge plays as an outlet. And think about if those plays where Sam Darnold is forcing the ball downfield, if instead of having Zach Charbonnet in and not really helping on pass protection, if that had been Ken Walker and he'd been out in the flat, you could have avoided that alone, could have avoided some of those turnovers. So I do think this is a pretty big deal and something that I was happy to hear about in this game. And then let's play one more here. This is Mike Macdonald talking about what is it about Nicky Manwari that allows him to be out there as essentially an every down player.
I think in general, we actually just, Brian and I are going through our clock running operation throughout the season, and it's been pretty good. Now, I think in general,
Sorry, I think we got the wrong clip there.
The 4th and 1 that got out against us on defense, Nicky Manwari made a tremendous tackle at the 1 yard line.
All right, I blew that multiple times. So there was this was a conversation he had. I asked him if there was a play or player that stood out to him, and that was him talking about that. And I think this is where he talks about the rotation of the cornerbacks, and what kind of has allowed Nicky Manwari to be out there.
I think Ken's showing the ability.
Forget it, guys. I'm blowing this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I should have had it prepared ahead of time, but I didn't. So the only other couple things I wanted to touch on that I forgot to mention yesterday, and it is related to some of these things. So I was going back through my notes about this game, things that kind of got my attention that just didn't have time for yesterday. And honestly, my brain was only partially working. What stood out to me, a couple things here, was this was the first time the Seahawks were trailing all year. And one of the things that I really liked, and Mike did talk about this with Brock and Salk a bit, was they had a choice of how to respond to being behind. They could have gone into kind of a hurry up. They could have, tried to pass the ball a bunch. But this is early, and this is when they're down 14-3 is what I'm talking about. And if you go back and you look at what happened after they fell down 14-3, the plays that they ran, they were committed to the run at that point. And I'm going back right now. Look at it here. So this was down 14-3. And the Seahawks get the ball and they run the ball four of the first 5 plays on that possession. And then they run it a few more times along the way. It was a very plodding drive. They ended up getting all the way down to the 12-yard line, but they don't convert. It's one of their red zone things. And then another, possession they had, down 14-6 still, starts with a 6-yard run to Charbonnet, then a 25-yard run to Ken Walker, then a 2-yard run, then a 28-yard pass. That was the one-hander by JSN, then a 2-yard run, then a 2-yard run, 10-yard pass, 4-yard run, 1-yard run, 4-yard run, 1-yard run. they really stuck with their identity in that moment. And I thought that was an important part of this game. And I think that it didn't pay off in terms of getting touchdowns, but it very easily could have. And I thought that was a good test for kind of the identity, the vision that they have for this team. And I thought generally that was good. The other thing that I didn't bring up that I wanted to is the cornerback rotation. So this was the first time that they have had Josh Jobe, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, and Nick Imori all available for a while. And in this game, you had Devin Witherspoon get pretty much all the snaps. He had 47 snaps. Then you had Tariq Woolen get 35 snaps. Josh Jobe got 31. And Nick Imori got 48. So 48 and 47. So Imori and Witherspoon were essentially fixtures out there, right? And then there was this rotation with Jobe and Woolen. And it wasn't just, oh, when they get into dime, Woolen comes in, and when they're just in base or when they're nickel, Jobe's in there. That's how it had been. This was a shift. Woolen was out there a lot of times. Sometimes Jobe was out there. I thought they both played a pretty good game. And I think it was really cool that they're rewarding Woolen for upping his game. I think he is a terrific cornerback, and I think he's been playing terrific football. I think this is a great way to keep both guys engaged along the way. All right. The other part of this was the wide receiver rotation was interesting in this one. It wasn't quite as extreme as I thought, but like JSN, for example, I'm going to pull up snap counts and see if I'm right on this. JSN came off the field more than I remember him coming off in the past. He did play 83% of the snaps in this game. That's roughly about what he's been playing. In the first half, Cody White was out there quite a bit. Cody White ended up playing 26% of the snaps in this game. So you had JSN at 83% and Cooper Kupp at 81%. So they were clearly the 1 and 2. Then you had Rashid Shaheed at 54%. And then you had Cody White at 26%. So when Torrey Horton gets back, this could be a preview of what that's going to look like. That Torrey Horton could be getting, instead of, he'd been getting about 50% of the snaps when everyone was healthy. He might be getting 25% of the snaps. And that it worked out in this game to 22 snaps for Cody White. My guess is, I don't have this available to me easily, but I think when Cody White was on the field, it was more likely they were going to run the ball. When Rashid Shaheed was out there, more likely they were going to pass the ball. They don't want to have too much of a tell in that way, but it was just something that got my attention. So those are just a couple other things that I wanted to call out for all you sickos that like every little detail. And then we've got a couple more super chats here. OEL says, I expect Kubiak to analyze the looks the Rams gave Darnold and come up with a game plan that gives Sam solution to the Rams' questions, like a test. I agree. I think there's more opportunity for the Seahawks to make adjustments on offense and like have a much better game than there are for the Rams to make adjustments on defense and have the same kind of outcome. I think that's the best game the Rams are going to have this season against the Seahawks offense. On the other side, that's the question. Can the Seahawks have a third straight game? And I'm, again, not counting the Week 18 game, which I don't think really matters, but a third straight game where Mike McDonald's defense absolutely owns Matt Stafford and McVay for most of that game. That's the one that is the harder thing to feel good about. But Mike McDonald so far has had really good answers for how Sean McVay and Matt Stafford are trying to run that offense. We've got Eoin Tyrell. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I know you're going to be at the Nashville event, which I'm looking forward to meeting you. He's become a YouTube member. Great to have you. And folks, one of the cool things, super chat wise, people have been doing as well is just doing a Venmo. I give Cynthia a big, sorry, hold on. I was going to try to get it up, but I can't right now. If you go to venmo.com and then do /Brian-Nemhauser, you can actually leave a comment on your Venmo to me, and I will treat that as a super chat. So it's a great opportunity to actually have all of the money go to me as opposed to just 70%. If you do it here, it's great. Super chats anywhere are great. But if you do it via Venmo, then 100% of the proceeds go to me and the show. And I'm looking right now to see if anybody left me one since the last time. Yes, actually they did. So Joey Hamilton has left a super chat there. Thanks, Joey, for doing that. He says, earlier in the year, we saw Sam turf some balls a couple times a game. That's happened less and less lately, and turnovers have gone up. My hope is he can return to that and trust the rest of the team more. I think that's a great call out from Joey Hamilton. I think that's true, and appreciate you taking the extra step to go to venmo.com/Brian-Nemhauser to leave a super chat there. Okay. That'll do it for this episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. I'm Brian Nemhauser. Take care.